In the beginning, the universe was like a gigantic egg. Darkness and chaos were everywhere. And inside of that egg lived a god named Pangu. After 18,000 years of sleeping, Pangu had awoken. Why is it so dark in here that I cannot see a thing? Pangu took an axe and he swung it towards that egg, breaking it, and he crashed into pieces. And all the darkness dispersed, and in came the bright light. Air swirled like water, taking the light air up to the sky, forming the sky, and taking the heavy dark air down, forming the earth. And Pangu watched, and he was pleased. But then one day, as he looked up at the sky, he asked himself, will the sky and the earth ever be reunited again? And he stood up, and with the top of his head, he held up the sky, and with the bottom of his feet, he held down the earth. But Pangu began to grow. He grew 10 feet every day. And soon, the sky and the earth were 950,000 miles away from each other. The Pangu knew that the sky and the earth will never again be reunited. Exhausted, he fell to the ground, and he fell asleep, never waking up again. And from Pangu's breath formed the wind pushing the clouds. And from his voice formed the thunder, and from his sight the lightning. And from Pangu's core came the mountains covering the earth. And from his limbs formed the 4 cardinal directions, and from his bones formed the stones and the stones and the minerals and the precious ores. And from Pangu's veins formed the paths that we take. And from his blood came the streams and the rivers and the oceans. And from his flesh and his skin came the trees and the flowers of all different sizes and shapes and colors. And from his muscles came the farmlands. And had it not been for Pangu's sweat, the rain would have never been formed. The rain that feeds the trees and gives us humans breath. And shortly after Pangu created this beautiful earth, out of the soil, a powerful goddess was formed. Her name was Nua, and Nua was the only one of her kind. She roamed the earth freely, through the forests and up the mountains, and she swam the lakes and the rivers. And Nuah was happy. But one day, Nuah noticed that something was missing. She tried to speak to the trees, and while they gave back to her, they didn't give her what she needed. She tried to speak to the mountains, but there was no reply. Nuah grew lonely. She walked to the river and she sat down.
I go down to the water at the start of the day. Oh, sweet water, please show me the way to get lost in the sand when the waves come crashing down. Oh, sweet water, please show me the way.
And while Nuah was looking down at the river, she noticed her own reflection. And that's when she knew what she was missing. She jumped up and she ran to the part of the soil from which she had been formed. And with her hands, she began to form a female figure. And when it was finished, she placed it to the side, and it began to dance and laugh. She knew she had to make more. And she made more and more and more and more and more. And now there were so many of them that she had to give them a name. She named them humans. But now her hands were starting to get tired. She noticed a vine growing from the mountains. She took those vines and she made a large net. And then she placed the clay in the net and she rolled it out. And so many humans were created. They filled every corner of the world. And when she was finished forming these humans, the last thing that she gave them, the most important thing, was the heart, so that they may learn to love each other and never experience the loneliness that she once felt.
I go down to the water at the end of the day. Oh, sweet water, please show me the way to find space in my mind for this river to unwind. Oh, sweet water, please show me the way. I go down to the water each and every day. Oh, sweet water, please show me the way to just let this river flow wherever it may go. Oh, sweet water, please show me the way. Oh, sweet water, please show me the way.
And after Noah created humans, the world was harmonious. People hunted and they gathered, and later they even farmed, and they all lived in peace. But then one day, a tragedy came to the earth. one of the 4 pillars that held up the sky broke, forming a large black hole inside of the sky.
Oh, the water's falling. Oh, the water calls us in. Oh, the water's falling. Oh, the water calls.
And through that hole came natural disasters, earthquakes and floods, destroying people's homes and killing humans.
Oh, I'm in your blood and I'll feed your soul. Everything that makes you whole. Yeah, the water that came and gave us day. There's the water that can take it all away.
But not only that, but this is when evil first came to the world. A large black bird flew in the sky, preying upon humans, especially children and the elders. A large, black, murderous dragon roared at the land, making the waves go high and shaking the waters.
Oh, you can have your oil and your factory farms, but don't you think I will do no harm? Yeah, I got the wind and the rain and the sea. I got everything inside of me. I say, oh, the water's falling. Oh, the water calls. I say, oh, the water's falling. Oh, the water calls. Well, I'm in your blood and I'll feed your soul. I'm everything that makes you whole. Yeah, the water that came and gave us day is the water that can take it all away.
The sky grew dark. Thunder pierced through the clouds. The water was falling everywhere. It was destroying the nature and the beauty that Pangu had created and hurting the humans.
Well, I'm in your blood and I'll feed your soul. Everything that makes you whole. Yeah, the water that came and gave us day. As the water that can take it all away.
Noah watched. I am the one who created humans, and now they have to suffer. It should be me who repairs the hole in the sky. And she traveled the entire world. And at every corner of the world, she took a brightly colored stone, all different colors, until she held 5 stones inside of her hand. And then she created a large fire, and she placed the stones inside of the fire, and she waited. And when those stones melted, she took the melted stones and she spread open her wings and she flew up, 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 up to the sky. And with those melted stones, she repaired the hole in the sky. And Then she dropped herself back onto the earth, killing the evil bird and slaying the dragon. And then she went to the fire where the fire once was, and she took the ashes and she spread those ashes where the floods were, and the ashes absorbed the floods, and the earth was saved. But Noah didn't only create humans and mend the hole in the sky. But Cassie, you might be interested to know that Noah also created a stringed instrument that gave music and joy to the Chinese people. Thank you for listening.